Welcome back to the Green Yard. We are doing a 4-year update on one of my favorite trees here in the side yard of the Green Yard. This is our fruit punch mango tree, and as you can see right now, it is just going crazy with flowers. Last year we did actually a 3-year update video on our mango tree. We ended up doing it in February. And we talked a little bit about not cold protecting it for that year, because that was the first year. Last year was the first year I was not cold protecting my fruit punch mango tree. And also ended up doing a harvest video as well later in the summer, because we did get our first mango off of this tree itself. And so I want to do a little update video because we did have so much going on last year with this tree, and it just looks so beautiful right now with all of these flowers everywhere and these little itty bitty baby fruits all on it. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about our mangoes. We actually had 3 mangoes that we planted at the same time, so I will include a little bit of information about some of those other mangoes as well, but our main focus is going to be on this fruit punch mango. The other 2 mangoes that we did plant at the same time were a Spirit of 76 mango, which is also over here in the side yard of the Green Yard, and then a Falon mango, which is located over in the food forest part of the Green Yard. So let's go ahead, let's talk about wintering this mango tree. Let's talk about pollinating this mango tree, so we end up getting mangoes on here. Let's talk about how it's doing, how it's growing, and let's talk about pruning as well, because I've found that pruning mangoes is probably the most important thing that you can do, especially when they're young, before they get to about this 4-year-old range here. So let's go ahead, let's get started on this update video with our Falon mango, with our fruit punch mango after 4 years in the ground here in Phoenix, Arizona. Here we go. The side yard of the Green Yard is quickly becoming my favorite part in the Green Yard. Everything is just doing so well over here. It's almost like a little tropical paradise that we have. Of course, I still love the food forest, but everything is just growing amazing. This is our brand new wax bamboo that we just put in the ground, coming out of winter with these big, huge, giant leaves. We have our black sapote tree, chocolate pudding fruit tree that is taller than me now. It's putting on a whole bunch of new growth. I got this Spirit of 76 mango with a whole bunch of flowers. Probably get some fruit off of it again this year, just like last year. Chico sapote, the sapodilla here, putting on some new growth. No flowers yet this year, but that usually happens a little bit later in the spring. Beautiful papaya, and then of course that fruit punch mango that is just exploding with these beautiful flowers and these little itty bitty baby mangoes on here. So this tree did not get any cold protection last year, which is when I put out that update. I actually put it out in January when it literally had no cold protection on it. And it got no cold protection this year either, just kind of let it out in the open. Now this year, we really didn't have a winter. Our winter was very mild, although we did still hit 28 degrees a couple times here in the Green Yard itself, which is still cold, but most of our mango trees do pretty well with 28 degrees, especially if it's only for a little bit of time there. This tree, so kind of a little bit about this microclimate and why it's been successful here. We have this block wall, which is an issue in the summer, not so much in the winter. I feel like it helps a little bit in the winter. So this tree gets full sun, probably from 9 in the morning until about 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon, depending on the time of year. During the winter, I feel like this brick wall actually helps to keep all of these tropical plants a little bit warmer, because it'll heat up with the sun, because we still get a lot of sun in the winter. It's just colder temperature wise, and it'll heat up with the sun, and I feel like some of that heat does radiate off when we get into the night there. And then in the summertime, what really saves us in this space and why I picked this space for a lot of our tropicals is the fact that we are against the house. So the house itself does end up giving afternoon shade. Now these trees do get sun up until like 2-3 o'clock depending on where they are in the side yard. Right in the middle where the papaya is gets shade first, and then back and front don't get shade until much later, usually about that 3 o'clock time. I found that a lot of our mangoes, after they're done with their first or second year, they actually enjoy some of that afternoon sun. Not all afternoon sun, you can't put them in full sun, but they definitely enjoy having a little bit more sun in that afternoon. And I've had lots of success with that as well, with these kind of newly planted mangoes that are in more full sun areas. All right, so what about pollinating, right? I mean, look at all these flowers. How the heck do we get mangoes out of all these flowers? Well, funnily enough, I don't hand pollinate, I don't do anything like that. We actually have two main pollinators that I've found here in the green yard for our mangoes, and they're kind of our two surprising ones. Bees will stay away. I've seen no bees anywhere near these mango flowers. In fact, I don't see any bees anywhere over in this part of the green yard except for maybe visiting our papaya flowers once in a while. We get ants. And so we have ants over here that they're literally crawling right now. I'm watching them crawl on all these little branches onto the flowers. And so our ants come, and our ants actually come in and pollinate all of these mango flowers. And then our main pollinator though, and I think you saw a few buzzing around earlier, are our flies. So mango flowers themselves, not the best smelling flowers. So if you guys have never smelled a mango flower before, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. They're a little bit on like the, I don't want to say rotting side, but they definitely don't smell sweet. They smell almost like a musty, moldy kind of smell. And our flies love them. So we have a whole bunch of flies that come and visit. There's actually, I see some up there right now buzzing around, visiting all of these mango flowers and pollinating these mango flowers here, which is really, really cool to see, that we have so many other pollinators besides our typical honeybees, right? So I don't do anything. Actually, a fly literally just landed right there. That was perfect. I don't do anything with these, and as you can see on here, we do have a whole bunch. There's just tons and tons of little itty bitty baby mangoes all over every single one of these flowers. So one of the other things we're going to talk about is how this tree is doing, how it's kind of gotten to this point. We've already talked about that microclimate. We've talked about kind of that pollination, how we've gotten mangoes in the past. And now we're going to talk about just general care and maintenance for this mango tree, this fruit punch mango tree, reflecting back on 4 years, right? So 4 years doesn't seem and really isn't a long time when it comes to our plants. But for me, myself, so much has happened in 4 years that I can't believe it's already been 4 years since this tree went in the ground. And so for this tree, one of the biggest things that I did to help it be successful and to be the size it is our pruning, which we're going to talk about here in a second. The other thing is watering. So we are on flood irrigation, which does put us at a slight advantage because once every 2 weeks during the summer months, we do get that flood irrigated water that comes in. It just floods this whole side of the green yard, this side yard, and it really does help soak into the ground. Now these trees don't get as much of a soak as some of our other trees because the water does run into the backyard. This is almost like a river flowing when we get our flood irrigation. So Not as much soaking going on, but it definitely still does get more water than it otherwise would. These are all planted in berms, so during the summer months, if it is 115 degrees for 2-3 weeks at a time, like it has been the last few summers when we've broken records for intense heat, I do hand water these as well. Usually I'll hand water them, let the berm fill up. I'll let the berm fill up twice. And then that'll be the water that it gets for that time. So usually we have our flood irrigation, and if it is really hot that week in between, I will fill up the berm and then kind of let it soak in there. I do that fish emulsion. I do use fish emulsion, and I do apply fish emulsion generally once a month for all of my trees. This fruit punch mango is included in that. And I think that fish emulsion has really helped all of my tropical trees, but especially my mangoes, do better and just grow bigger overall. Now remember, I know I've had a few comments in the past that this is a very small space for a mango tree. If we were in the tropics, that is 100% true. Mango trees in the tropics get to be 60, 80, 100 feet tall. Here in Phoenix, because of our climate, that is not true for us here. In fact, most of our mature mango trees, especially the grafted varieties, generally get to be about 10, 15 feet tall and kind of stay that dwarf size, right? So in the tropics, if you were to buy like a dwarf mango, usually it ends up being about 10, 15 feet in size. Same is true for our regular mangoes though here in the Phoenix area, just because of the intense heat that we get during the summer and our cold, right? Because we do get cold for our mangoes. We do not live in the tropics, right? And so this tree is fine in this space. The other nice thing about mangoes is that you can always prune them back. So I do prune on a regular basis, which does bring me to probably the most important thing that we're going to talk about, which is pruning our trees. So let's go ahead, let's jump in and let's look at some of our other trees, and we can talk a little bit about pruning, because I've been successful with some and not as successful with others. So let's go visit our Spirit of 76 mango. Remember the size and what this one looks like. We'll head over there. So this is our Spirit of 76 mango. Drastically different than our fruit punch mango, and a lot of that has to do with pruning. So our fruit punch mango, I have religiously pruned. It did not hold fruit, and it has not held any fruit until last year. Our Spirit of 76 mango though, on the other hand, held fruit not last year but the year before. Didn't hold it all the way through, but it still held it for a little bit. And it held on to 4 fruit last year, whereas our fruit punch only held on to 1. All of that has affected the size and the shape of the tree, and a lot of that has to do with pruning. So let me explain. So each one of our flowers is about a foot long. You can see this one right here. And these weigh a decent amount. So you can see it's actually weighing down this branch. Once the flower puts on fruit, obviously the weight of that fruit will weigh down the branch even more, and it ends up almost sitting on the ground. In fact, the ones that we had last year when we did our harvesting video were literally sitting on the ground for this Spirit of 76 mango. And so what happens, and why I say pruning is so important, is because if we do let our trees fruit, which a lot of mango growers here in the Phoenix area will not let their trees fruit even after 4 years. They'll still cut off all these flowers. They'll cut off everything. They'll really focus on shape. I always thought that that was crazy, and my philosophy was, if it's going to hold on to fruit, let it hold on to fruit, right? But I've realized that I've sacrificed the shape and the size of the tree by doing that. So for this tree, for example, if this branch is held down, and I let it fruit, it doesn't get as many growth periods as our other trees. And also, being held down for 6 months, it really affects the overall structure of that branch. So you'll see a lot of the branches on here. I did a drastic prune at the end of our harvest, but a lot of our branches on here are cut way back. Like, look at this guy, cut all the way back to almost the trunk, right? So we see that by not letting the tree fruit, or by letting it hold on to maybe one fruit, like our Spirit of 70, or like our fruit punch mango here, actually benefits the tree overall. So we have a much better shape with this tree. You can see it's a much taller tree here. And what's happened is the fruit that I had last year was on a small branch, almost like this one, right? And it just fell down to the side. And then the rest of the tree kept putting on new growth. So probably about every 3 months, 2 to 3 months, our trees will flush out, our mango trees will flush out, and every single one of those flushes gives us new growth. So for example, like you see here, this was the branch before. I trimmed it back. This whole branch here is all flush. And then this is all a flush, right? Flush and new growth. You can actually see on the tip here, it's getting ready to flush out some new growth again. And so by doing that and by trimming the tree and not allowing it to fruit, you actually end up getting a better shape for your tree and overall health of your tree. I know it's hard to do. Obviously, I am not the best person to talk about this because I've always let my mangoes fruit. But this year, you can see all those little itty bitty baby mangoes on there. This year, I am going to end up cutting off all but one of my mangoes off this fruit punch and off my other mango trees as well, just to try to get a better structure. Let's jump over to our Falon mango, which was planted at the same time. It's planted in the food forest part of the green yard. And let's look at that tree, because that tree has never flowered and never fruited, and it has a very similar structure to this fruit punch mango here. All right, here's our Falon mango tree. You can tell has a very similar overall structure, very much up in the air, really becoming a tree instead of more like a bush shape, and doing really, really well. Now, like I said, this tree has yet to flower or fruit for me. Last winter, it did get frost burn. So this is the only mango I've ever had that has had any sort of frost damage to it, and it had significant damage on here. So all of this is new growth from when it got burned. But it's taking on a really great shape. You can see the trunk here, nice, sturdy, thick trunk going on for this tree. Really enjoying the overall shape, the branching out of this tree, and I'm hoping that someday soon it does flower and fruit for me. But because it hasn't flowered or fruit, I've been able to go in and just simply trim and trim and trim and trim and prune and trim and prune, and it's allowed a lot more growth and ultimately a better shape for this tree overall. So at the end of the day, you get to decide as the grower if you think that structure or fruit is more important. I always picked fruit because I absolutely love mangoes, and I still can't believe to this day that I have mangoes that are growing and producing here in my backyard in Phoenix, Arizona. It just amazes me every second of every day. But you know, I've learned that fruit maybe isn't necessarily the best, and I'd rather have healthier, better structured trees that will produce more fruit in the long run, right? And I'd rather get more fruit from a healthier, bigger tree than the same amount of fruit over and over again from a tree that, yeah, I got fruit in the second or third year, but I'm never going to get more than 4 mangoes. And that's really what's happened with our Kerry mango tree. I'm never getting more than 4 mangoes off of that tree, or at least not if I don't make drastic changes to it and trim it way back. This fruit punch mango is absolutely gorgeous. It is massive, it is beautiful. I love this tree so much. And I'm so excited to have another fruit punch mango off of this tree this year. It really is a beautiful specimen, and I love being surrounded by all of these mango flowers. If you guys have any questions about our mango trees or anything that I didn't mention that you'd like to know more about, please feel free to comment below. If you guys like what you saw, make sure to subscribe, share, comment, do everything you can, because I do respond to those comments. I do my best to put out content that either I see in comments or I see people mention that they want to learn more about. We've been focusing a lot on our green yard tours the last few months. We've put out one for, we did a trip to Peru and put out a green yard tour, the Cusi Huerta in Lima, Peru, which is this beautiful urban paradise. Definitely go check that video out. We also made a trip to California as well, to City Heights, California, and saw a beautiful urban paradise there as well, a community garden called New Roots Community Garden. Check out that tour too. We'll probably be doing an update with them sooner rather than later. And of course, make sure to live green, plant lots, and have fun. We'll see y'all next time.